Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Evolving Women. Today, my special guest co host is Cheyenne Syverson. Yay! Welcome, Cheyenne. So glad you're here.
Thank you, Teresa, for the opportunity. I look forward to our conversation.
I do want to tell you, I love the name Cheyenne. I remember when I was teaching, whenever I had a young girl, her name was Cheyenne, which I only had a few of them over 25 years. It's like, oh man, I love that name. It's just so cool.
Yeah, I always had fun growing up having a different name than we had a whole bunch of Johns and a whole bunch of Sarahs in our class. And it was fun because the teachers would put my name as a spelling word from time to time because people.
Oh,
And then
mm.
now it's really fun when I introduce myself networking because I say I'm Cheyenne from Wyoming and people are like, wait, what did you just say?
What a coincidence.
Right. I'm originally from northern Minnesota, but I've been out here for 20 years now. So
And I want to talk about that. I love hearing about people's journeys and how they got to where they're at today in this moment. And I know that you started, as you said, in Minnesota,
yep.
and now you're on the other side of the Mississippi. And I'm sure there's a little bit of a story there too. You're welcome to share with us if you'd like.
Yeah, it was just my husband and I at the time wanted to move from there and just explore the West. And my job at the time took us to the town we're in. And that's the story from moving from there. But I always had that attraction to the state of Wyoming because
Mm.
of my name. It just felt
Mm.
special to me, right? I remember doing a book report on it back in the day when you had to go to the library and actually look at the card catalog to find the books
Yes, yes.
and write it all. I remember doing that for the state of Wyoming and having to put this whole big book together on a state. But so I've always felt a connection to the state.
That is so cool. Yeah, card catalogs and handwriting. Kids nowadays, they have it so easy.
Right. But
Oh my God.
there's a lot of connection in the written word, though. Like when you can
Yes,
write
yes.
it out, there's so much more connection flowing through your pen than just typing it out.
Right. Yeah, I know there's that brain finger connection, which is
Yeah.
why I handwrite a lot of stuff because
Yeah.
it helps me process, kind of slows things down a little bit.
Yeah.
But thank you for sharing that. And now I'd love to know how you went from your animals, because you started out in the animal world and now you're in the finance world. And how do those two connect?
Interesting story with that. So, yes, I actually enjoyed being around animals more than people back in the day. And so that's where I went into animal science as my background for my college education, enjoyed it. And then I was provided the opportunity to become a career intern to do agricultural lending. And I honestly had no idea what I was getting myself into. I just had to graduate with a 3.0 and I had my job. And so I started on holiday. We had a good laugh about that on in our office. They're like, "Really? You started on a holiday?" So I didn't actually my first day, which was fun. And then they provided the training. But once I got into the job, I really started asking a lot of questions going, "Why? How did I go through a 4 year degree in college, go through my high school education and all that, and not learn about managing money or managing credit?"
Hmm.
And I started going, how do they expect you to be successful when you're not
Yes.
taught? And I learned, your parents know certain things, but some people hold their cards close to their chest for reasons that maybe they don't want to share if they have a lot of debt, or maybe they don't know how to manage it, so they don't know how to share. And it just brought a passion with me to start reading and learning and growing. And then I started sharing it with other people because what I realized when I started asking questions is a lot of others didn't know the answers either. And so it just put me on this direction, and I've been in lending now for over 20 years. And over that time, I just started coaching more and more people, and then really fed the passion by seeing them light up when they understood
Hmm.
or when they could change their direction. I've worked with people that had terrible credit to excellent credit and helped them understand with mindset strategies and different things that I could share with them to the point they'd come in and say, "Oh, I'm so excited. Look at what where I'm at." And it just it makes it so much more fun when you can see people light up because they pivoted, essentially they're the next generation even, because now they
Mhm.
can pass that knowledge on. In my
Right.
office, I would always cheer on when someone would bring their kids into the office because it gave me the opportunity to make it inviting for them to talk to their lender, to talk to somebody about money. And so I'd
Mhm.
always high five them, especially if they already had a savings account started for their kids. I was like, good job on getting them started on the right foot.
Right. And I love what you were saying. And I don't know what it's like now, and I don't want to speak for every school district on the planet or in this country, but when I was in the teaching field in public school, from what I saw, finances were very, very minimal, very minimal,
Mhm.
which is so odd because that is such an important skill that we need to be learning from a very young age.
Right.
And I fell short as a parent. My parents fell short, and I'm not blaming anybody, but it was just not something you don't talk about. You don't talk about money,
Yeah.
to our detriment across the board, obviously.
Right.
So I love that you're advocating to bring the kids in, bring the younger generation, get them going, allow them to start thinking about this and not be so hush hush and afraid of the topic of money and finances.
Right. And I do so out of the states, there's only about 25 out of the 50 states that actually have a personal finance class requirement now.
Wow.
But it's gained because there used to be hardly any that had any type
Mm,
of requirement.
mm.
I had 2 years of accounting, but that didn't teach you money management. It only taught you how to keep books and
Manage the numbers. Yeah.
the numbers, the ledgers
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you pick up a lot from your parents, even if they don't teach you, just from conversations you overhear between your parents, the things you
Yeah.
observe as a kid. So you end up with these kind of funky rose-colored glasses around it, right? I remember when I first got my first job out of college, and I was like, I'm gonna get that guinea pig that I wanted. And because I always wanted one, my parents were like, no, no, you don't need that. And we had a lot of pets growing up. We just never had a guinea pig. And so when I was out on my own, had started this career right out of college, I was like, I'm going to get a guinea pig as a pet to have as a companion, right? And so I got this guinea pig, and then I realized that all that was my ego really saying, well, you just got to feed that need because now that you have your own money, you can do that.
Mm.
Only to realize I'm like, it really wasn't that entertaining, right? Like it wasn't the companionship that I really wanted. Um, like it didn't fill the spot like I thought it
Hmm.
would. And I think so
Hmm.
many times people get into that situation where, well, if I buy this, if I go do this,
Yes.
it's going to fill
Yes.
that. And I've learned through my journey, you have to fill that from within. Like that
Love
happiness is
that.
not any one person, it's not stuff you buy, it's not even really the experiences. It's how are you filling yourself, your own cup up with joy. The other day, I even took
Love
a
that.
walk and I started skipping, and I felt so joyful, like feeding that little inner child. And I thought to myself, how simple is that?
Hmm.
Just to
Hmm.
randomly skip, and it just brought joy. And I think we get lost in all the other search and find that we
Yes.
forget some of the simplest things.
Oh my gosh, you got that right. I love several of the things you just said. And so I'd like to circle back around. One is money, like you said, you were trained in accounting or you were taught accounting, but, and tell me if you agree or not, money is not just the numbers. So
Right?
you can learn how to balance your checkbook, which if anybody ever does that anymore, or watch your bank account numbers. But that's it, is the numbers. But that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, absolutely. There is so much emotion tied to money because it allows you to do or not do the things you want to when you want to. And so when people aren't intentional or have a plan with it, they can feel really a lot of guilt around that, right? They go buy the one thing and then they're laying in bed going, "Oh, I wish I wouldn't have."
Like your pet.
Right, right. Like, just like that, you're like, "Man, I didn't really need that." And
Hmm.
but we never evaluate. We're marketed to from such a
Yes.
little age
Yeah.
that we just get embedded in that impulsivity of buy, buy, buy. Because
Yes, yes.
I help people understand it's like they study psychology
Mm-hmm.
so their marketing works.
Yes,
And so you
yes.
have to study psychology in a way to realize that I can retrain my brain a different way. I call it retraining your money brain, right? You have that inner critic or that little gremlin in your head that says, oh, just buy it. And then your
Mm-hmm.
saving brain's kind of quiet. But
Yeah.
once you start working with different information, you can start, I say, build that saving brain so it gets louder than that little inner gremlin in your head.
I
It's not
love
that
that.
you are wrong. You did the best you could with the information you had at the time. And we're going to give you better, different information to shift that, to be intentional with your money, to retrain those habits. Because what I've learned through my journey is 95% of what you do are habits, unconscious
Mm-hmm.
thoughts,
Yep, yep, yep.
right? And most of what you learned, you did before the age of 7 on those habits. And so if you don't question them to see are they still serving me, you're going to keep doing it. So one of the tips I share is a do not buy list. And people are like, a do not buy list. Why would you do that? I
Mm.
was like, what I realized is I would tell my brain, oh, I need to buy the box of Kleenex. So I go buy the box of Kleenex only to put it on the shelf and find out I already had 10 of them.
Yes,
Because
we've
what
all
happened?
done that.
Right, because you never triggered your brain to say, "Oh, we took care of that," because maybe you were in a rush or
Yes,
whatever, and
yes.
so you're running through the store, grabbing your few things on your list, only to realize you already took care of it. And so I have a do not buy list for things you already have. For maybe it's a grand idea and you know you won't implement it, so you put it on a maybe later list. Um, but it's just a way to trigger your brain to say, "Oh, we don't need that right now."
I love that.
To defer that.
I'm going to try to remember to make that right alongside my buy shopping list.
Yep.
And I'm glad you brought up the marketing. Especially in our society here in the States, we're just bombarded from a very, very young age. And then with our phones and devices, it's even worse, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so you start to believe, like, oh, maybe I do need that. Oh, that would be nice. But like you said, they got all this money behind the psychological ways of manipulating us. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I find myself being sucked into things. I know what they're doing, and I still go along with it.
Right, right.
It's so powerful. And we have to remember that. I mean, don't beat ourselves up for it. Give
Right,
ourselves grace because they have powerful mind techniques that they're using
right,
on us.
right, right, right. Absolutely. And it's really, it's stepping away from that. And what I've learned is some of those things to build that saving brain I referred to is making sure, you always hear eat before you go grocery shopping, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having the do not buy list as a reminder that you don't need these other things. Being an intentional that if it's, I would tell my family, if it's not on the list, I'm not buying it. They'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
well, I wanted,
Yes.
you didn't
Yeah.
tell me, you didn't put it on the list, so I didn't buy it. And
That's
because
good.
it also stops some of that, you thought you needed it only to buy it and you already had bought it impulses by
Mm-hmm.
training by nope, if it's not on the list I'm not going to buy it, being really intentional. And I do the same thing with people on their budgeting. Most people see their budget as a way to, oh, I have to tighten the belt, so they, and then they feel the guilt, right? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I've spent all this money doing this. And it's really about telling your money where to go instead of having it flow where
Mm.
it wants to go. How many times have you had that $100 in your wallet and you go to get it and it's gone? You're like, well, where did it go? Well, you weren't
Mm.
intentional with it. So it left. It flowed because cash flows, right?
Love that. I love that. Oh my God, so many things to circle back around to. You were talking about unconscious habits,
Mm-hmm.
unconscious buying because we're bombarded with those messages. But those money beliefs that we pick up, as you said, before age 7, even though my parents weren't talking about money, they kept it between themselves.
Right.
Obviously, we were all picking up on these silent messages. I mean, to this day, I don't even couldn't even tell you what they are that I picked up other than lack and we had to watch and certain things we couldn't do or consider.
Yep.
So, but we're all running these unconscious programs that if we don't, as you said, question anything, we'll never be able to unravel them or change them.
Right. I love this story. It's told in many different versions, but the one that I remember was um, the the granddaughter asked, "Mom, why are you cutting the ends of the ham off?" Right? Have you heard that one?
Yes, I have. Go ahead.
Mom was like, "I don't know, but my mom's in the room, so let's go ask her." They go to grandma, and grandma's like, I don't know. My mother always did it, but great grandma's in the room. Let's go ask her. And the great grandma's like, I just never had a pan big enough for that big old ham. And so all these generations have been
Mhm.
repeating the same thing
Right.
with no justification. They never questioned it. They just did it and
Yes.
how many times do we do that in our behavior beliefs,
Hmm.
our biases? There's a lot of unconscious bias, all those different things that are programmed in. And you wonder, like, why am I behaving that way to maybe a certain
Exactly.
person or a certain group of people? It
Yep.
have
Yep.
nothing to do with who you are in your soul, but it has to do with how you were brought up, what you saw. And
Hmm.
that's why it's good, to expose your kids to, people with disabilities and different races. And I always say it's like we're all one human race is the way I see it. Like
Well, we are.
I don't
Yes.
really
Yes.
care. I think it's um, entertaining, for lack of better words, of having conversations with people from different cultures, and because you learn so much. There's so much to
Hmm.
learn from other people, no matter where they've been. You know, I always
Exactly.
say you never know what's hiding behind their smile, good
That
and
is
bad.
so true. So true. Wow. So those money beliefs and the emotions attached to money, I mean, when I know I'm part of that, the emotions tied in there, but if you distance yourself from it, it's like so comical. Like it's just a piece of paper. It's some coins, which we don't even use that much anymore. Like
Right,
there's not even any visible thing anymore. It's all digital.
right,
So it's
right,
just, it's in this etherical space that we're
right.
not even seeing. And if you really think about it, it's comical. It's funny that
Yep.
we are attaching specific emotions to something so insubstantial. Is that a good way of
Oh
saying
yeah.
it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. The same goes for in your household. I've had conversations with couples and people that are, now single or things like that. And um, people want to put guilt on the spender in the household. And I always help them
Mm,
understand there's benefit to both the spender and the saver in the house.
mm,
And you have to see that value, because your saver might save so much you never take the vacation, you never make the
yeah.
memories, because
Yes.
we got it
Yes.
saved, which is great. You certainly need to save, you need to have a plan, but also having those opportunities to go make those memories are what we live for, right?
Hmm.
And
Yes.
so there's value in that. And then on the flip side is helping that, guiding that spender to say, well, maybe we don't need to buy this because our goal is this. We want to take that trip. We want to save for this event,
Hmm.
or for the kids' school. But what happens is most people don't have those conversations up front.
Right.
Have one
Right.
person managing the money, the other one just spending it, and then they're feeling guilt over it. And it just opens up this whole big can of worms, right? And so
Right.
I help people understand there's the value in both. You need both, right? I always say it takes two to tango, right? It's not
Yes.
very much fun
Yeah.
on your own. And it's the same with the
Right.
saver spender. And even in my own family, my oldest thankfully has turned into a saver. But when he was younger and it wasn't his own money, he was my little spender. Mom, I want this. Mom, I want this. I'm like,
Yes.
stop,
Yeah.
because now you're going to have a new idea, and that thing that you just were dire to need, you don't need, because now you're onto this next grand idea, right? And but he was my little spender. But those boys, I took them into the bank at the same time. We opened up their account at the same time with the same conversation, and they still interpreted money totally different, right? Now, my youngest, he's my little saver, and I'm like, are you going to spend your moldy money and buy your mom a treat or something? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I mean, he works, he makes good money for his age, and it's just comical because he just doesn't want to spend it, right? But he does like to spend it on certain things. But we always taught him about, you want to save and buy quality, so that if
Mm,
you need that one thing, don't just go buy the cheapest thing to get the thing. Go do your research, find the quality thing, because I don't know how many times I had it where you think, oh, well, I can cut corners and save on this one
yes.
thing. Well,
Yep.
then you end up going and buying the more expensive one later because
Mm-hmm.
the other one
Mm-hmm.
broke or didn't function like it should. Well, now you spent the money on the other thing and the new thing.
Yes. Yes.
And so I
Yes.
was like very adamant, especially like he likes to hunt and fish and do all that. It's like save your money, buy the quality thing because
Mm-hmm.
then it will last you a lifetime versus you buy the knockoff or something cheaper and it might not function long enough, you know?
Oh my gosh, I love that. What a great, if one thing you could teach your kids or your grandkids is that right there, what you just said. Wait a little bit of time, put it off a little bit, and so you can afford the quality item that's going to last longer. And that whole idea of instant gratification, again, we're programmed into that. And as
Right.
you said, you get that thing, and then afterwards, like, oh, like it, the thrill is in the getting it. And then after that, it's like, I'm done with it.
Right, right. How many times, I one of the exercises I'll have people do is go clean your closet. And
Mm,
then when you start to go to the store and you see the clearance aisle or you see these other things, you're like, oh, I should get. And then you're like, wait a minute, I just spent all these days cleaning out my closet. I don't need another thing for my closet to
yes,
full,
yes.
you know. And that's a part of, setting back and waiting is it also trains your brain to say, do I really need it?
Mm-hmm.
Or can I repurpose something I already have in that closet that I
Yes,
just spent
yes.
hours cleaning? But when you start, like you sell or you give away a whole bunch of stuff that you no longer need, desire, and it's just taking up chaos, creating chaos in
Mm-hmm.
your household, and it makes you more intentional about what you buy. And so I'll wait on some of those things and see, well, can I repurpose something else? Do I really need it? And only if I come back to it time and time again, it's like, okay,
Yeah,
obviously this item is necessary for whatever, whatever that purpose is. But then I'll look at buying it.
yeah, I
But
love that.
just
So
being that setting back and being intentional makes a big
well,
difference.
I love intentional, that word intentional, and I'm going to throw in the word discerning, be
Mm,
discerning about it, and just delaying the purchase. I mean, we've all heard that, like, oh, sleep on it. And if you're still want it the next day or whatever time frame you give it, then maybe it is yours to buy and that's it's your time. But just stepping back for a little bit and hesitate and delay and think about it a little bit more and then go back and make your decision would be
right.
huge, a
Absolutely.
huge
Absolutely.
difference in people's lives. So I love the quality. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this idea of I've read them. Oh, I can see the gentleman's face. His name will come to me. But happy money, this whole concept around happy money. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I haven't read that book, but that sounds interesting. I think you can find that happy money is where you're being intentional because when you look at so many people like to stuff their head in the sand, right? They know they need some to fix something, they know they can be doing better, but because it seems like a daunting task, they don't find the resources to help. And so they stuff their head in the sand, but then they feel so much more guilt. But the happy money could be when you step in and you start looking at the numbers. I worked with another coach that realized when she looked at the numbers she was feeling the guilt about her business with her husband, and then when we looked at the numbers she's like, oh, it really wasn't that bad. So she had this big daunting picture in her head that she was spending too much because she wasn't getting enough clients and all these different things. And then when we actually looked at the numbers, it wasn't as bad as she thought. She had been making some profit but she also was just starting. Like it wasn't something, it takes a bit to get all that organized and in order. But
Yeah.
she was scared to look at the numbers
Yes, yes.
because you feel that guilt. And that's why I invite people is like, recognize you did the best you could with the information you had.
Right,
You always
right.
have those decisions where you learn the lesson. Sometimes it's a lesson,
Mm-hmm.
go, oh, I shouldn't have invested in that. That was a waste of my time.
Yeah, yeah.
Some of the things I do with like business owners is it's those apps, right? Wait to purchase that app. Make sure you don't have something already in your arsenal to do it because otherwise you end up duplicating things, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
so they're just a whole different way of assessing those needs and wants and desires, because it's really easy when you wear all the hats to go, oh, well, this will help me with this. But if you never actually take the
Mhm.
time to implement it,
Yes.
learn it, now you
Mm.
just spent the money on crazy. The other thing I tell them is not to buy when they are trying something, only pay for that month subscription. Don't pay for the annual, because if it comes back in 3 months and you realize, oh, that's just really not the platform I need,
Hmm.
now you didn't just lose the other money that you're not going to leverage in that platform. And then
Yeah,
once you
that's a
know
good
it's
idea.
something you're certainly going to use, then do the annual. But then
Hmm.
you're not tying yourself into that amount of money right off the
Yeah,
bat,
that's a good idea.
because they try to
And
get you on the, oh, you save so much if you sign up
yes,
for annual,
yes.
but now you're losing if you actually don't use it. So,
And I've learned not to leave it on automatic renewal.
right. Yeah, I seen that happen. We would have, when I worked at a credit union, we'd have people, I didn't authorize that. That's fraud. And well, you turned out you found that one time where they signed up for $1.
Yes,
They didn't
yes,
cancel the subscription. So then it's
yep,
coming in 50, 14.99 over and over and over again.
yes,
And they don't
yes.
catch it because, I've had people that had fraud on their account for, well over 6 months because they had money in their account. So they weren't paying attention. Well, that cost
Hmm.
them a lot of money to, again, not look at their numbers.
Yeah, that's easy to do nowadays is to not pay attention. And you have
Right.
those reoccurring things happening in the background.
Yep.
I have a couple family members who, what you just said about being afraid to look at the numbers, thinking that the situation was worse than it was. And then when they actually had somebody dig into it and look at it, like they thought they were really bad off, after a spouse, died or whatever. And then
Right.
when somebody actually looked at them, looked at their finances, like, oh, I guess I'm way better off than I thought. So all this time they were thinking all this negative energy around what they thought they could afford, where they were in life, and then only to learn otherwise.
Yep.
And I don't mean to giggle about it, but it's so ironic. We do this to ourselves.
Yep. Well, and some of it's fed in by all the stuff you watch. I always tell people
Yes,
I
yes,
stand guard at the gate of my mind, because when you're fed the constant propaganda on the news and all that, it puts you in a fear state and a scarcity
yes,
state. So
yes,
then you automatically are thinking everything's doom and gloom. I don't watch
yes.
it. Like, people are like, you don't even know. I was like, no. I was like, you guys are going to tell me because you guys talk about it all the time. I'll
Right,
learn from you.
right.
If
We'll
it's
get
really
the
that important, I'll
we'll
learn
get the
from someone else.
information. Yes, it will
Yeah.
come to us if we need to know it. I totally agree with
Yep.
you. But I know this has been a great conversation, but I know we're running low on our time. But give me some of you. I'd love to hear. I'm sure you have personal reasons that you feel passionate about helping people become more educated in their finances. And I really want to hear your thoughts on women and money because, like you said before, a lot of women defer this whole accountability and watching their finances to the men in their lives. And then if their men's pass or leave them, they're like stuck. They don't know what to do. So I think women in money, it's really important for them to have some awareness or some understanding of what's happening.
Yeah, yeah. So on the first question, yeah, I've been through it. I've been through a divorce and job loss and business deal gone bad and high medical bills and so many things I wasn't prepared for. And I'm passionate about helping people build that foundation. So when life happens, because it's not if, it's when.
Good,
Well, we
good
had a
point.
house fire too in there. So I had a whole decade of
Hmm.
one major thing after another. I'm like,
Mm.
okay, this stuff can stop, because you trying to get back up, on the right side of it was so challenging. Still working through that, because it wasn't long ago that I had lost my job for a whole year. So that
Mm.
made things tough. And so it just brought that passion of, now that I know here are the tools to build that foundation, let's play offense instead of defense with your money.
Love that.
Be ready for life to happen, because it comes out of nowhere, right? You're chugging along doing your thing, and then all of a sudden, wham, here's a major life event that sets you back on your laurels, and you're going, now what? Well, if
Hmm.
you already have a plan, you can grow from it, leverage the plan, leverage the foundation. So you're not, you know, having to go back to Walmart after you retire, right?
Right,
It's
right.
being,
Oh, that's
it's being proactive now as soon as you get information, different information and doing that. And so that's why I have a passion with it. As far as with the women, it is important, even if you defer that management to your spouse, which is fine. It's easier if one person's managing the money. Because what I found is at one point
yes.
when I had been married, we each had originally had certain bills we were paying. But
Hmm.
what we were doing is we each were paying a little bit extra to different little debts, right? Well, we never were getting anywhere because we were dispersing that extra to all over the place. We had
Mm.
no intention. And so we were playing. So then once we concentrated on it, we could concentrate on, we're going to work on this one thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And the, and it's back to knowing the family goals so that when your brain takes you, hey, I want to go buy this thing, you can step back yourself and go, wait a minute, no, we had this conversation. We're going to do this, so I don't need that today. I had a divorcee that I worked with, and her spouse didn't even manage her money well. He literally said, oh well, don't use the card till Friday when they
Mm.
money. And so then when she left, he was the main breadwinner in the house, so she didn't have as much income to work with, and she never had managed money or her spending habits. And so what we did is we started her off with the budget. We set up how her budget needed to be. I always recommend setting up two separate accounts, one where all your money goes and one for your spending. And I actually recommend that even in a spousal household where each person has their budgeted spending account. So if someone has the groceries, then they're getting a separate amount. If you're buying fuel, all those incidentals gets put into those individual accounts, because that way if you want to save for a gift for your spouse, you can, right? Because you're going to be intentional with the money you're allotted in your budget to make that happen without saying, well, hubby, I would like to go buy this gift for you, so can I
Hmm.
get,
Yeah.
that's kind of a weird position, right?
Yes,
Because then
yes.
ultimately they're buying their own gift in a way.
Hmm. Yep.
And it makes it so that if you end up making an error and you go, oh, I really shouldn't have bought that, it's not impacting how you pay your bills and cover your expenses in the household. And what I realized is in this digital age, a lot of people would log into their phone, see, oh yeah, we can go out to dinner. We still have a few $100 until payday.
Hmm.
But then they
Hmm.
forgot they hadn't paid a certain bill and now they can't pay the bill because they went out to dinner.
Right.
And so when you have that separated, that food, going out to the restaurant comes out of the spending accounts. Then when they log in, they say, "Oh, I only got $20 until we get paid again." Nope, I guess we're going to have baked potato and a hamburger, right at home. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
so you're setting those intentions because you want to set yourself up for that success by having those separate accounts. It just makes it so much easier because then you have that as your default. When you log in, you see that the account, you don't see the amount that's being saved. You don't see
Hmm.
the amount that's
Hmm.
being set aside for the bills or the mortgage or whatever it is, because that's not the
Right.
account you're going into. Then, if you do need more money, you have to intentionally go look at it, but then you have to have that conversation first to say, hey, do we actually have the funds to go do this extra thing?
Mm. So it sounds like a team effort is the
Yep.
best way to go.
Yes.
And I love that setting up the family goals, not
Yep.
just individual goals, although you can have them, but the
Mhm.
family goals with a shared end result that you can all work towards.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And even setting up that budget, it's about you set it up so you can be intentional. You can make a plan. So maybe that person likes tools or that person likes shoes. Well, allow them that grace to go play with that, right?
Mm,
Because you don't want to hold it so tight that you do nothing and then that person feels discouraged because they can't feed something that's missing, that
mm,
little
mm,
thing that fills, right? Maybe it's the
mhm.
girls' night out or the guys' night out. Well, if you made it so that was always impossible, that makes it hard too.
Yeah, and before we wrap it up, and I'm gonna give you the final word there, but like we've all heard those stories where somebody, I don't know, like a widow, I don't know, as an example, and she was very nondescript and never did anything and was a homebody. And then when she passed, she had like $5 million in her account. Like that sounds like, whoa, that is awesome. But then I also think, but like you said, if you're not going to do anything with the money is to bring joy and to bring memories into your life. It's to help live your life, not to keep it contained, shut up in an account that you're afraid to tap into.
Right. Yeah. It's about finding that balance, right? It's having those
Mhm.
conversations. What does that joy look like? What does the savings look like? You want to set up a legacy so you can be the generation to change your family's generation to
Mhm.
come, right? And that's where it gets it back to that intentionality. Set up the legacy, know that it's taking care of itself because it's going to be one of your investments that automatically pays out of that bill account, right? And then you're going to be intentional with, okay, in this savings bucket we're putting away for that trip, for that growth event that you're going to, whatever that looks like for your family, because then it is that happy money, right? Because you know where it's going. You already know you have a plan that's going to set you up for when life happens, and then you can just roll with it.
Love that. So much good, so many good gems here today, Cheyenne. Um, we could probably talk another hour and get a lot more gems
Yeah.
because money is such a supercharged topic. It really is. Even I think we're getting better, but it's still so entrenched as we already spoke about was those unconscious beliefs. But if you could, end us with some wisdom or advice, or specifically for women, or an action step, I would love for you to do that.
Yeah. One of the things I coach on is anything above zero compounds.
Mhm.
And it's not just about the money, it's about your life too,
Mm.
right? You want to get healthier, so you want to take walks. Stay committed and start with 5 minutes if you can't do 30. But hold that commitment because you build that trust with yourself. And
Mhm.
then you can grow on it. But you have to start somewhere. When someone says, "Oh, I live paycheck to paycheck," we'll start with, I say, $1 to grow. So that's a book, that's an event. And then $1 to give. That's your charity or your church. And then $1 to save. Just
Love
start
that.
there and then start building on it. Because if you don't train your money brain to think of it in that format now, when you feel like you're in scarcity mode, you won't, even when you do get more money, because you'll just find other
Mhm.
ways to spend it.
Yeah, yeah.
So it'll still just leave your wallet anyway. So you start being intentional now, and then when you have more money, you know what to do with it.
And we've all heard those stories too. Somebody
Yep.
won the lottery, they got all billions of dollars, and then within 5 years, it's all gone.
Yep. Because they didn't train their own self.
Yes,
That
yes.
trust. It's those life habits. I'm often referred to as a life coach with a financial emphasis, because it's a lot of those
Mhm.
life habits that come into your money as well.
Love that. And we didn't even get to talk much about the money brain, so we might have to have you back to talk about that. But I love that suggestion. $1 to grow, $1 to spend, $1 to give. Excuse me, you said one to save, one to give, and one to grow. But I
Yeah.
love that you folded in the giving piece.
Yeah. Well, it's very important because, sorry, allergies. It's very important to give because it's in that abundance. You're training your brain that you're living in
Mm-hmm.
abundance, and you attract more abundance. If you're always holding on tight until it's moldy money per se,
Mm-hmm.
you won't actually attract more. And by living in that life of gratitude, you always bring more. You see more abundance. And so you're
Mm-hmm.
training your brain to say, I have the abundance to give.
Now I love that. And know that your brain can be retrained.
Absolutely. No matter at what
Mm,
age you start, it can be.
I love that. Wow, this is always so interesting and fascinating around the concept of money. And I'm so glad you shed a lot of light and gave us again a lot of wisdom to think on and hopefully to apply.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
thank you so much. And if anybody has a comment about what you've heard here today, if you feel this is a episode that might be useful for somebody else, please pass this on. I don't have my little sign, so please subscribe, share, leave the comment. We'd love to hear your feedback. And again, Cheyenne, thank you so much. Thank you for your expertise. Thank you for being here. Thank you for what you're doing out there in the world. And if you want to get a hold of Cheyenne, we will make sure her contact information is in with the show notes and you can reach out to her and continue this conversation more one-on-one with her. So thank you everybody for listening in. Cheyenne, thank you so much.
Thank
We
you
will
so
see
much.
everybody the next time.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great week. Take care. Bye.